If you're a law firm owner who thinks like a business owner, not just a lawyer, this is for you. July 17th and 18th, we're hosting our next in-person mastermind in New York City. We're kicking off with a strategy workshop with Jessica Gonifas of Silver Peaks Accounting, dialing in your numbers so you can make smart CEO-level moves. Then it's straight into mastermind hot seats. No fluff, no filters, just real strategy, real feedback, and breakthroughs. Plus, we're hosting an exclusive dinner. Bring a plus one, connect deeply, and build the kind of relationships that transform businesses. If you're ready to think bigger, move faster, and scale smarter, get your mastermind ticket at maxlawevents.com.
This is Maximum Lawyer with your host, Tyson Mutrux.
Welcome back to another Saturday episode of Maximum Lawyer. I'm Tyson Mutrux, and today I've got a fun one because I'm in a booth in the Delta Sky Lounge in Salt Lake City. I was asked to come out to their legal summit, HONA, the Disrupt Legal Summit. Very cool. They used to be Milestones. They changed their name a couple years ago, but Matt and Manny, thanks for inviting me out. Appreciate it. But they had asked me to be on a panel, and a couple of things that I talked about I wanted to mention on the show because I thought it was something that masses should hear about, not just the people at the conference. They had asked me to really kind of look into the future and try to predict what challenges law firms might face in the next 5 years or so. And I give my opinion, and I didn't pull any punches with it. I definitely have my fears. I think that there's some opportunities for sure, and I'm going to get to all this in a little bit. Before I do, as I always do, I just want to remind you, I would love it if you would shoot me a text. I always like to hear from everybody. If you've got something that you want me to cover on the show, if you've got something, an idea or a question, it really doesn't matter if you're just starting out. It really doesn't. Or if you've got a ton of experience, it doesn't matter. No question is too small. There might be some questions too big that I might not be able to answer, but for the most part, the questions you all have been pretty easy on me. But shoot me a text, 314-501-9260. You can also go to maximumlawyer.com/ask. I would love it if someone sent me an audio message. I love it whenever we get audio messages because then we can play that on the show. It adds a nice little element to it. And it also allows me to kind of play it and then pause it and play it and pause it. That way I have a little more fun with it. But questions are fine too. But let's get into today's episode where much of the discussion over the so I arrived this morning. My son had a concert last night, so I actually didn't come in for the first day of it. I came in for day 2, flew in this morning. But much of the discussion whenever I was here was all about AI. A lot of it was about AI. And that's understandable. HONA is a technology product where they've added an AI answering component to it as well. In addition to, they've got their setup is where their technology is that they give updates to clients in real time when it comes to the client file. And that added communication is pretty cool. I think it's a great product. They're great people. More than anything, I'll just say they're not paying me to do this, but I can just tell you, they're just great people to deal with. I actually had a great conversation with one of the founders, Amy Cheatham, one of the investors, Amy Cheatham, and just all the way around, from the investors to the actual people running the company to the employees, just fantastic people. So like I said, I'm not getting paid to do this, to say this. Check them out if you are interested, because I just think that they're great people. But that being said, I do want to talk about, some of the things that I discussed. And I was on a panel. I was actually on the panel with Amy Cheatham, Scott. I don't know his last name. Sorry, Scott. I've got your card in my briefcase. But they're both great minds, and they were fantastic. And so I was able to kind of share my thoughts on some of my predictions over the next 5 years. And I'm gonna give these to you, but just know no one can predict the future. You really can't. Things are changing so rapidly with AI that we don't really know what's going to happen in the next few years. But I'm going to give you some of my thoughts and my predictions. And some of the stuff I hope I'm wrong. Some of the stuff, maybe it's good. I don't know. But Over the next 5 years, let's just start with some of this. A lot of this stems from AI, so I'm going to start with that. You're obviously going to see much more adoption when it comes to AI. You're just going to. That's what's going to happen. You've already seen it quite a bit. The adoption just in the last year has been an increase of about a threefold increase. So the adoption is accelerating. That's for sure. As a part of that, what's going to start to happen is that you're going to start to see, in my opinion, you're going to start to see a contraction in the legal industry over the next few years. And I think that the sweet spot is really that 3 to 7 year mark, where that's where you're really going to start to see the major contraction in the legal field, where you're going to start to see a bunch of mergers. You're going to see a bunch of people leaving the legal field. And a lot of the people that are going to be leaving are the ones that did not adapt. Okay. So there is a bright side to this, where there is, I think if you do some of the things that I'm going to talk about, then you're going to be just fine. But if you don't adapt and you don't start adopting some of the things you need to adopt when it comes to AI agents and whatever else comes next, you're going to get left behind, because you're going to have the haves and the have-nots. And the have-nots are going to be the ones that are going to have to leave the profession because you're not going to be equipped. And the reason for that is because we're going to start to shift as an industry over a lot of law firms that are going to be very much customer service oriented. And that's because you can't replace that component. You can add features, okay? You can add the features like Hona has, which is great. It gives that additional communication. It doesn't give that one-on-one, right? You're not having that conversation. The best AIs to this point they're still not giving that one-on-one, and they're not going to be able to give that one-on-one connection that you get, that human-to-human connection. So we're going to be shifting quite a bit into that customer service arena, because AI agents are going to be doing much of the work that let's just face it, our employees don't want to do, which that is going to lead to, I think, an improvement in the happiness of our employees, which is awesome. That being said, you're going to see an increase in how much you're going to have to pay employees, right? You're going to have less employees, but you're going to have to pay them more. You're going to see some fee pressure, because many of the clients, they're not going to want to pay all these attorneys to do work that is being done by AI, because they're going to know much of the work is being done by AI. That's a big thing. A couple of things that I did not talk about on the panel, we just didn't have time, is we're going to see an increase in the hybrid practices. I think you're going to see an increase in remote practices. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. You're going to see an increase in cybersecurity breaches. I don't know the last number I was able to find was 2023. 40% of firms were breached in 2023. 40 freaking percent. That's insane. And then you're also going to see a lot of regulatory changes. You already have non-lawyer ownership in 2 states. And I think that that's going to expand. I definitely think that that is going to expand over the next few years for sure. All right. So how do we deal with this, right? What are some things that we can do to make sure that we are ready for it and that we are one of the haves and not one of the have-nots? You're going to have to proactively embrace this technology, this AI that we have right now. I know that some of it's a little scary for some of you. Some of you might think, well, I'm going to be done in 5 years. I'm going to be retired. No big deal. Okay, great. That's fine. Those of you that are going to be in the profession for longer than that, you're going to have to embrace it. The AI agents are here. I even said on the panel, on the way over here, I was working on an AI agent, and it's going to save us a ton of time every single week. You're going to have to embrace it. You're going to have to adapt your pricing. The billable hour, even though I think it's perfect for lawyers, I think it's a great model for lawyers. You can make a lot of money. Clients don't really want it. They want that predictability. And I think that you're going to have to adapt to that. The main thing that you're going to have to get, I think, through your head is that you're going to have to focus more on the client experience and that client service, the customer service. You're going to have to focus more on that. And that's great, because we're going to have time to do it, because a lot of the legal stuff, the mundane stuff, is going to be done for us, or at least it's going to be, mostly done for us. Going to get it, about 80, 90% of the way there for us, which is going to free up a lot of our time. And that's going to allow us to provide that really high level service, which means we're going to be able to attract really higher end customers, higher end clients. We're going to be able to attract them. We're going to be able to charge probably a little bit more, even though the expectation overall is going to be that the people are going to expect lower fees. I think that's fantastic. But you're also going to, something else that's going to be interesting is that you're going to have a lot of access. A lot of people are going to have access to justice that they don't have access to now. I think that's a pretty cool thing. I think we should all applaud that. But we have to be ready for what we can prepare for, and that is adopting the technology now. I talked a lot about the history of, that was one of the things I was asked to talk about, was sort of the lessons that can be learned from law firms that have navigated past disruptions. And I talked about things like the typewriter, right? The paralegal. The paralegal wasn't around until the 60s. I don't know if you realize that. The computer was a massive disruption. The internet, right? Massive disruption. These are all things that what happened was we adopted the technology. When we had things like the depression or the recession or any other financial crises, what we did as an industry is we reduced costs. We became flexible when it comes to staffing. That's what we're going to have to do here. There was a lot of price innovation during these periods. There was a shift towards that client focus. People were focused more on talent management. None of that's going to change, right? None of that is going to change. We're going to have to do those exact same things. This is just another disruption that the legal industry is going to have to manage, right? That's what we're going to have to do. But we can do it. I think as an industry, we can do it. If you don't, you're going to be in bad shape in 5 years. Just going to say it. 10 years, definitely. 5 years, I think we can debate whether or not it's going to happen in 5 years. 10 years, I think clock runs out at 10 years. I don't think that you're going to have, if you've not adopted it by then, you're in a lot of trouble. But I think you need to start now. I think you need to start yesterday, but the next best time is right now. So go out, build yourself an AI agent, hire someone to build out some AI agents, understand the technology, just like you understand employees. You need to understand the technology, because that's, like it or not, that's going to be sort of a type of an employee that we're going to have to manage over the next coming decades. So lots of changes to come, but hopefully you got something from this episode. I just want to share some of my thoughts from it, from this, what's becoming a hot phone booth, this booth that it's very well insulated, and I'm not getting a whole lot of air in here. So I'm glad I'm almost done with this episode. But as a reminder, shoot me a text, 314-501-9260. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you disagree with me. I would love to hear. I love to hear when people disagree with me. So 314-501-9260. Till next week, remember that consistent action is the blueprint that turns your goals into reality. Take care.
Real quick, before you head out, have you checked out the Guild yet? If you've been listening to this podcast or hanging out in the Maximum Lawyer Facebook group, you've probably heard us mention it. But if you haven't taken the next step, let me tell you, you're missing the best part of this community. The Guild is where law firm owners like you go to level up. It's not just more content. It's a powerful mix of weekly live trainings, group coaching, accountability, and a tight-knit community of people who actually get what you're building. You'll be able to tap into real conversations with people who are in the trenches with you, scaling their firms, testing ideas, solving problems, and growing fast. If you're serious about building a firm that runs like a business and not just a job, this is where you want to be. Go to maxlawguild.com and take that next step. We'll see you inside.